Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Midnight Matinee. We're coming to you live from Christmas evening.
Christmas evening.
Yep.
I hope you all had a great Christmas. We finished up our 24 Christmas horror movies last night, or after we opened presents. We actually stayed up and watched the last one.
Right, so we complete them all on Christmas Eve. So it was quite a challenge. Some of these are terrible, terrible movies.
Yeah, they were definitely in the running. We decided to do a naughty and nice list.
Right.
To kind of tell you which ones are which. And let's just say that I think the naughty list is just a tad bit heavier because there is a serious lack of good horror movies for Christmas.
Some of the movies that are on the nice list, I wouldn't say are like 5-star. They're not really like exceptional, but you know, they're nice compared to ones that are on the naughty list. Some of the movies that we watched, I feel, should come with a handwritten apology letter from the cast, crew, and directors of these movies, because it looks like they were filmed on a cell phone and had a budget of whatever someone had in their pocket at the time. Like, they are awful.
Well,
terrible.
It's very hard to curate Christmas movies. Like, a lot of these I had not seen, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And we've seen a lot of horror movies in our time. There were a few, but we tried to get a broad range of lists, you know, and we also apologize if we made you sit through something horrible, but we sat through it too. We shared the pain because we sat through it too.
we share the misery on this one, because some of these stinkers we sat through, and a lot of the time I'm just like
you're like, oh my God. Especially last night after we had food, fun, we played games, opened presents, and you're like, I'm so tired, and it's like 11 o'clock at night. We're like, well, we have one more. We have to get this done.
One more, and we have to watch it. And lucky for us, this last movie, the 24th movie, was probably one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my entire life. So I don't have to worry about, you know, like, oh man, I'm going to take mental notes of this. Like, no, it was garbage. Absolute garbage. So,
well, we thought that we won't go way into depth like we have on some of the other movies, but we thought we would kind of run through, tell you the movie, kind of give you a brief synopsis, and then we'll tell you if it made the naughty or nice list.
There you go.
And why. But I think we're going to do all the nice ones first, and then we'll end with the naughty, naughty, naughty ones.
Right.
So
we'll start off with the nice list. There was a handful. I think there were 11. We had 11 of them that were nice, and they're not, like I say, they're not exceptional. They're not Oscar-worthy performances. They're just in this genre.
But I feel like they stand
out. Yeah, or it was a bad movie on purpose, right? So, like, what was Jack Frost? Did we put that on there?
Jack Frost, we decided it was on the nice list, or the naughty list.
Oh, okay.
Because it was so bad.
It was bad, but it was bad on purpose.
Yeah.
I think. So I kind of would give them a pass.
Yeah.
Because it, you know.
Okay, well, let's start
with our nice list.
First one on the nice list is Violent Night.
Yes.
And that was basically a team of mercenaries break into this family compound and taking everyone hostage. And let's just say this is the one where I think I already said Santa somehow gets mixed up into all of this, and Santa's a badass.
Yeah. Yeah, in this movie it turns out that Santa Claus was a Viking warrior who was turned into the jolly old Saint Nick, and he doesn't like his job very much.
No.
And he just kind of goes through the motions of being Santa Claus, and then he's caught in this situation where there's a good kid whose family is being basically kidnapped in like a Die Hard type scenario. And it's kind of like, you think about Santa Claus the movie meets Die Hard meets John Wick. That's what this movie is.
Well, it was made by the makers of John Wick.
So it has a lot of that John Wick type fighting in it, but instead of Keanu Reeves, you know, doing cartwheels and stuff, it's what was his name? Hopper. David Harbour.
David Harbour from Stranger Things.
Yeah, from Stranger Things, and he plays Santa Claus in this, so he's not he's not doing a bunch of cartwheels around the house. But it is good, really good movie. I liked it a lot.
So it made our nice list. Yeah. The next one on the nice list was Black Christmas, but it was the 1974 version.
Right.
Not the one I saw in the 2000s.
Yep.
Which was horrible behind horrible.
Yeah.
And this one was basically, it even has Margot Kidder in it. Starts in a sorority house where they were, having a Christmas party, and then people start to disappear from the movie, and that's kind of how it just
snowballs into a
spree kill.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I like the acting was pretty good in it. The camera work was really, really good. It has that washed out kind of I don't know if you guys know, but there's like basically 3 ways of making movies back in the 70s, where they had Panavision, which like everything is razor sharp edges and it has to be overlit, and then there's the medium technique. I forget what that one was called,
like a noir,
Panaflex or something,
where
if you watch it, it looks like a soap opera. Like there's no shadows anywhere, because everything has to be lit from multiple angles. Otherwise, it looks like a hole, basically. So that's what this movie was. It was filmed in the cheaper film stock, but it was still shot on like 16 millimeters. So it was good quality. The acting was good. It has good actors that you'll recognize from other stuff. The story was solid, even though it kind of gets a little noir sometimes in the piano scenes and stuff. You're kind of like, that's unnecessary, but I'll take it in this genre. I'll take it a lot.
Yeah. Okay, number 3 on our nice list was the movie Krampus.
Right.
Which basically a kid at the very end kind of loses his Christmas magic, and his grandmother, she has, I can't remember what, didn't she have something? Why am I drawing a blank? I think you said it earlier. Anyway, the grandmother is from Germany, and it kind of starts with Krampus coming to punish all the naughty children.
Yeah, when things start to happen, she knows from her childhood what it was like when Krampus came, so she knows what's going on.
Yeah.
And she tries to explain to the family the old folk ways of the, northern Germanic people. And she's like, hey, this is what happened to me when I was a kid. And they're all like, oh, shut up, Grandma. We're all going to do our own thing. And all the family, they're all stereotypical.
Oh, it was a completely dysfunctional family.
Yeah,
they're arguing with each other. It's like you got the redneck kind of family, and then you got the fancy family who has like pate and all that. And they're constantly squabbling with each other. And then, so Krampus starts to come for everyone, and and I remember the grandma kept trying to keep the fire lit.
Yeah.
The whole time. So
that's one of the things.
We don't want to do any spoilers, but
Right, it was really good. I liked it. And
it was well done. It was a well done movie.
Yeah.
Film-wise.
It has the Toni Collette in it. It has Adam Scott in it. It has, what was the guy? The guy from the news one with Ron Burgundy. What was that?
I don't know.
I don't know. That bald guy from that plays the redneck in this, and he drives a Humvee and has guns everywhere. And
it keeps you on the edge of your seat.
It was a good story.
So, okay. So that was number 3. Number 4 on our list of the nice, it's A Wonderful Knife.
Yeah.
Which is basically this girl's life is less than wonderful. So after saving her town from a psychotic killer on Christmas Eve, she wishes she was never born, kind of like A Wonderful Life.
Wonderful Life, right.
She finds herself magically transported to a nightmarish parallel universe with the murderous maniac now back, and she must team up with a misfit to identify the culprit and get back to her own reality. So it's all the hijinks that are involved with this. It didn't take itself overly too seriously. No,
and that's what made it land on the nice list, I think, because had it been presented like as a matter of fact type thing, you would have just rolled your eyes and been like, this is dumb. But because it's kind of like, let's not look too deep into this kind of scenario, then it was a pretty good time.
Yeah. Okay, then we go to number 5 on our nice list. Better Watch Out. This one was quite the interesting one. Basically, it's a babysitter. She travels to a suburban home to babysit a 12-year-old during the holidays. His parents leave, and then she must defend herself and the young boy who when unwelcome intruders announce their arrival.
Right.
So basically, that's the setup, and it is all hell's bells off to that.
It was didn't want to say a plot twist because it revealed the plot pretty early on in it. So it's not a plot twist movie. It's a subverting expectations type of movie. So I liked it. I thought I didn't think I would either, because once it got to about halfway through the ending, the last act of it, I was kind of like, I get it. It was better than I thought it was going to be. You know, there were some points in it where it was cheesy and obvious, and you're like, eh. But then once it got to the end, you're kind of like, haha, okay.
It even had a bit of a Home Alone kind of feel to it in some ways. When, home intruders, what happens?
Right. So yeah, it wasn't awful.
Okay. Number 6 on our nice list is Rare Exports, A Christmas Tale.
Right.
Which is actually a Finnish movie.
Right.
That had subtitles, but even with subtitles, which I'm not a big subtitle fan person.
Yeah.
Kept me on the edge of my seat. I thought it was really visually very incredible.
Yeah.
But it's basically about a young boy and his friend who they discover a mountain that's having a secret drilling mission going on. Yeah. And the boy itself, he's like his father. I think they must raise reindeer or something. Because they were. Remember,
he's a butcher.
Oh, is he
the father's a butcher?
That's right. He's a butcher, but they butcher reindeer.
Right, and then they export
like a crop.
Reindeer meat is the whole thing. They have like in Alaska, where they'll draw like all of the animals into like a pen area and then slaughter them, and then that's like their heritage or whatever. That's what's going on here, where the whole town exists basically to catch these deer or reindeer, and then slaughter them, and then they send the meat out all over the whole country, and they make their money for the whole year by the reindeer harvest.
And then you discover that their livelihood was in jeopardy.
Right.
So, but yeah, and it definitely had some moments where I was like, "Oh my goodness!"
Yeah, there's a lot of things where, because it's presented so straight, like it's very harsh and very like you said. She doesn't like to read movies where it has subtitles in it, and there's very little dialogue in this, so you're not reading a whole lot because it's a lot of
a visual presentation.
Yeah, they're kind of like, they're not very curt people. They don't speak a whole lot. They just kind of do their thing. There's some silly moments in it. And there's like the town veteran is a little bit over the top, and you see more of that guy than you do a lot of other people. Like the kid's father probably never smiled in the entire movie.
No.
And the other people in the town are very like heads down, just working class people who there's no joy in their lives, that's just what
definitely has a very gritty, feel to it.
The streets aren't paved.
But I thought the story was very good, concise. They kept it on track. They brought it all around. And I was like, oh, that's a good movie.
There was a twist at the end where I was kind of like, ugh. And then when they revealed what it was, I was like, it was funny. It was really, really good. And I don't want to say like the acting, because it wasn't really good acting, but the way they acted made it honest and genuine.
Yeah.
Like you feel like this is like a documentary almost, the way the people act, because it's not like another movie where it's over the top, and you're like, nobody would do that, like in this movie it's something people would do.
Yeah.
And their acting is spot on, and there's a lot of stuff like the banter between the dad and the son, because they lost their mother. So it's just the dad raising the son. And there's a few moments in the scene where he's like, in the movie, where the father tells the son, like, go do thing X, and the son's kind of like, yeah, but I want to see this, and then he's like, did I tell you to leave? Like there's a lot of that where the father is like barking orders at the little kid, and the little kid doesn't want to do it. So then he has like his own thing. It was really, really good. Of the movies that subverted expectations, I would say that this one, Rare Exports, I would put at the very top of that list. Movies that surprised me in being very, very good.
Okay. Number 7 on our nice list, Anna and the Apocalypse.
Yeah.
I was a little concerned because my husband is not a big
I do
musical
not like
fan.
musicals at all.
I didn't realize when I was picking this that it was a musical, but it's basically a zombie apocalypse threatens the sleepy town of Little Haven at Christmas, forcing Anna and her friends to fight, slash, and sing their way to survival, facing the undead in a desperate race to reach their loved ones.
Right.
It was actually really cute.
This movie,
I don't know if I'd consider it a family movie, maybe.
no, not
But
by
definitely
any
a
means.
teen or above.
Yeah, and I don't like I don't like musicals where they sing talk, right? Where it's lines in a play, but they sing it for no reason at all. Like, what was the one with Johnny Depp and
Oh, you're talking about the
Sweeney
barber.
Todd.
Sweeney Todd, yeah, the barber.
I love that movie with no volume on, because you can't explain to me why you need to sing your lines and then call it a musical. It's the laziest thing that possibly exists. And that's not this. This movie has musical scenes in it because that's a song, and they're singing the song in the scene, right? So it's like, instead of just being like, I'm going to open the door, there is a window, just knock it off, okay? Sing it or don't. Say your lines. Get off the stage. It's ridiculous. This one is
It's almost like
actual songs.
It's almost like High School Musical.
Yeah.
That TV. That
It's
Disney
an actual
thing.
song that would be on like a record, as opposed to
Yes.
just singing your lines to make people's heads hurt.
Yeah.
Right?
I thought it was cute. I was expecting the worst because I like musicals. I mean, I go and see Broadway shows, but I know he didn't. I was like, oh boy.
Yeah.
But for him to come out of it and be like, I really like that. That's a good sign.
Of the movies on this list that were subverting expectations, that were better than I expected, this would probably be the second.
Yes.
The number 2 of the list. So that tells you a lot. It's a musical, and I liked it.
Yes.
So
That says a lot. Okay. Number 8 on our nice list, we probably really don't need to discuss because it is the timeless classic Gremlins.
Gremlins, right.
Which everybody, I know I went to see it in the movie theater back in the day. I mean, it was cute. Everybody wanted the Gizmo, the Spike, the Gremlin.
Yeah,
So,
the Barbie dream car.
Yeah. It's just all around. Probably was it?
Yeah.
Was it Steven Spielberg's first, or no? Was it E.T. was his first?
I think, yeah.
Or going back even farther.
Oh,
God.
there might have been something further than that. But yeah, E.T.,
In terms of cute.
Raiders of the Lost Ark, yeah.
Yeah. So it was obviously, we don't have to get to that. Everybody knows Gremlins, whether you like
Right.
it or not. Okay. Number 9 on our nice list was Santa's Sleigh.
Yeah.
Which was basically after a millennium of spreading cheer, Santa Claus, played by wrestler Bill Goldberg, reverts to his demonic self and gives the gift of fear.
Yeah.
And it is cheesy
It's
and over the top.
Way over the top. And
Just like wrestling.
if you know who Bill Goldberg is, and this is peak Bill Goldberg. This isn't like modern day Bill Goldberg talking about cars and stuff like this. This is WWF, the pinnacle of Bill Goldberg, and he hams it up in this movie. It is so good.
And he is like buff Santa.
Yeah.
You're like, okay. Like didn't know what I was expecting.
Yeah.
But
it's dumb.
it's good for a good laugh.
Yeah.
If you like the whole wrestling genre or whatever.
Right.
You're gonna love this
Basically,
movie.
the premise of this movie is that Santa and this angel got into a ice curling match,
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the curling.
and the angel won. So Santa has to deliver presents and be nice for 1,000 years.
And this was the last
And this
day.
was the last year. So he's getting in 1,000 years of butt kicking in this movie. It is so completely over the top. You can imagine Bill Goldberg from the mid-2000s. That's exactly what it is. It's a giant pro wrestler in a Santa suit smashing people's heads and driving a sleigh with flames shooting out of the back of it. It's everything that you could hope in a cheesy, stupid movie.
Yeah.
So it made it on the nice list.
It made the nice list. Okay, number 10 on our nice list is Silent Night, Deadly Night, back from 1984, which is basically an orphan raised by, I don't want to get into that. But anyway, an orphan is raised by nuns, grows up to be a killer toy stork Santa Claus, and he goes on basically a killing spree. But, honestly, I don't remember if I saw this one back in the day. I remember seeing, and when you go to Blockbuster, it'd be there.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, okay, yeah. And I honestly felt this one was a little bit. I almost like in this day and age, you say like, God, that poor kid is traumatized. And then now I understand why he did what he did.
Right. Well, that's the thing about this movie is that it's not like one of those horror movies where you're like, oh man, I kind of feel for the villain, but he's still a bad guy. Like this guy, even though he does take it to extreme, he's not a bad guy. Like it's just he's a person that bad things happen to, and he has no coping mechanism at all because nobody's ever let him grieve his whole life.
Yeah.
And he's like 18, so he was raised in a Catholic-owned orphanage, right?
Where anybody who grew up back in the day, any being around nuns, I mean, whack.
Yeah, you remember that scene from the Blues Brothers where they go back to try to find the janitor at the nunnery or at the orphanage, and the nuns beat the crap out of them. That's who they are in this too. They're brutal. They tie kids to the bed because they behave. They misbehave. And that's where he came from. Like his family was murdered right in front of his eyes. He grew up in an orphanage run by nuns, and then the nuns literally take him from the orphanage when he's 18 and give him a job working at a toy store.
No spoilers.
So I don't want to spoil any of it. I mean, do you really need spoilers?
But basically he was triggered.
Yeah.
And he got triggered hard.
Yeah.
And he triggered hard on everyone else.
Right.
So, okay. And the last one on our nice list is the main one.
Yeah, this one kind of skirted. It skirted the edge of the. That's why it's the last one.
It was very funny
list.
the way they did some of the stuff, because obviously the mean one, it's kind of a loosely the Grinch,
right?
Yeah. And they would do everything they could possibly, to avoid
to skirt that copyright strike. They're right up against the edge of it.
He's and then they would
yeah.
But anyway, I think it was cute because it knew it was like cheesy and bad, and it is loosely kind of based. There is a grumpy person who's
right. Yeah, and basically it's like the Grinch stole Christmas, but the Grinch stole this whole town basically. And he lives in the mountains and terrorizes his town, and they can't put out any Christmas decorations at all, or he'll come and hack them to pieces because he hates Christmas so much.
Yeah, it's basically and Cindy Lou Who is part of it.
Right.
She witnesses the murder of her parents by a bloodthirsty green figure in a red Santa suit. 20 years later, the Christmas-hating monster begins to terrorize the town once again, and then she finds her new purpose in stopping the creature and saving the holiday.
Yeah. So it wasn't. I wouldn't say like spectacular because the acting's kind of bleh and the special effects are very bleh.
Yeah.
And it's
not top tier.
Yeah, not at all.
BC level movie, but I thought it was a good watch.
It was good enough.
It was enough to keep me interested.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I'm just like.
It accomplished its task. It was subverting the copyright strike from the Grinch, how the Grinch stole Christmas. So that they did that, and it is the character looks like the Grinch, and he does all the Grinchy things, and there's even a scene where he's sneaking across on his fingertips like the Grinch does. Yeah, so
fun.
It was the one. It deserved to be on the nice list at the end because even though it was terrible and it was filmed on a bar of soap, it looked it was good enough. It accomplished its task. So
that's our nice list.
Yeah.
And now time for the naughty, the ones that got coal from us at the Midnight Matinee. So the first one on our naughty list actually was our first movie that we watched, and it was the one I was dreading the most because it just sounded bad by the title. And that was Mother Krampus. Basically the myth of Fra Perchta, a witch that comes on the 12 days of Christmas to steal children away by night.
Yeah.
And I think we've actually discussed this in other videos, how bad it was.
Yeah,
it was
one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my entire life.
Opportunity.
Yeah, it was negligent how bad it was. It was
a lot of it just was like, how can you be her daughter and you're old enough to be her mother?
There's a scene where all of the regular actors are in the kitchen talking to each other, and I had to stop and ask. I was like, is that kid is her husband in this scene? Like the okay, so he's like a year older than his daughter, but the mother is a good 30 years older than he is. Like, what is even going? Who cast this? Like, they don't even. Their ages aren't even the same.
Well, the special effects were just horrible.
Oh, it was
the whole thing was just bad. So that's why it made it to its naughty list. So let's just go on. We've already gone over this before. The second on the naughty list is A Christmas Horror Story, which is not even Santa Claus is safe from evil that descends on Bailey Downs, a small town that is suddenly plagued with malevolent, I cannot say that word. Malevolent spirits, zombie elves, and Krampus, the anti-Santa Claus. Which this is the one we had with a twist, didn't we? Yes, because it started out with him being chased into the barn. The reindeer, yes. Yeah. This one had a little bit of an M. Night Shyamalan going on it, and it was, I just don't think it was well done.
It has, what's his name? William Shatner, is that this one?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it has big name actors in it, and it's filmed really well.
Yeah.
It was just the story wasn't there.
Yeah, it kind of missed the mark. And it was almost like...
It had good special effects in some of the scenes, too.
Yeah. It was almost tragic, if anything.
Yeah.
That would be the best way to describe it. So, naughty. It was just naughty to me.
very naughty.
Okay, our number 3 on the naughty list is Krampus the Reckoning, which was basically Zoe is a strange little child with a not-so-imaginary friend who happens to be the terrifying demon companion of St. Nicholas, Krampus. She unleashed upon a small town to punish naughty people at Christmas. No one is safe. Basically, she has a Krampus doll.
Yeah, she has a doll and it has little shackles on it. And then she says like some kind of prayer and then takes the shackles off. And then the Krampus comes to life and does
her bidding. And it kind of goes into the backstory, but once again, it was not a well thought out story.
No, and there's a part of this too where they just like, and also she's like 90 years old.
Yeah.
What? You're because they go through the records of her adoption records and she's tracing the parents that adopted her and that she's killed over the years, and it keeps going back and back and back, and eventually like she's looking at people from the 90s and she's like, this kid is the same kid in all these pictures, so that means like she's immortal, but then she lives in an orphanage, what?
Yeah, it's kind of
like
confusing.
It's just so. And the Krampus,
the graphic on his special effects were just
is awful.
Totally computer generated.
Yeah, but it looks like computer generated from the 90s.
Yeah, it's just
like, it is terrible. It's so cheesy.
Yeah. Okay. Number 4 on our naughty list.
Yeah.
It was Jack Frost, which we've already kind of talked about. But Jack Frost is a notorious serial killer who was being transported for his execution, and the truck carrying the murderer encounters a bizarre accident that transforms the serial killer guy into a mutant snowman, and he basically takes the whole town.
Yeah,
he terrorizes the whole town.
Right. And this one barely made the naughty list. This is the one that was on the fence, because in my opinion it knows it's a cheesy, stupid movie, and they don't really pull any punches in that. There's a lot of scenes where they're over the top, and there's over the top on purpose, and they're in on the joke. Like they didn't set out to make, Miracle on 34th Street. This is a cheesy movie. So that's why it kind of landed on the naughty list, because it, in my opinion, it ran a little long, and there were some scenes that they could have done better in. Like there's this whole escape scene where they're leaving the jail, and there's like this long, dark hallway, and they're like trying to escape while Jack Frost has turned himself into liquid and leaking under the door, And it's just, you're
just
like,
a lot of silliness.
There's a little too much silliness in some of the scenes where it felt like it just drug on and on. It could have been cut tighter, and it would have been a lot better.
So, okay, back to our list. Number 5 on our naughty list is Holiday Hell, where a woman enters a curiosity shop looking for a last-minute Christmas gift, and she meets a mysterious shopkeeper who tells her the horrific stories behind 4 of the different objects in his store.
Right.
Which, love anthologies, love the idea, you know.
And that right there, if you told people they'd be like, oh, that's a fantastic movie. I'd like to see that. And if you read the list of actors that are in it, you'd be like, oh, man, I really want to see that. That sounds great. No. It's bad. It's very, very bad.
And it takes a dark turn at one point, and you're like, what?
Yeah, there's... I would avoid this one at all costs.
Well, no. Number 6 on our naughty list, which is next, 'Twas the Night. Which one was that? That was the one where Maya tells chilling tales of Jack Frost, the Gingerbread Man, and Krampus, revealing their terrifying, brutal sides instead of heartwarming stories. This is the one where the actors could not act their way out of a wet paper bag.
Yeah, it's
awful.
You can't.
Awful.
There's nothing about a movie that you can point at in this film and say it was good. There's nothing at all good about this movie. Acting is terrible. The sets are awful. The
graphics.
Costumes are laugh out loud, stupid, terrible.
They look like they got purchased at a bad Halloween store. Yeah.
There's a lot of scenes like this where they're like, and that's why I killed her family because, turn page, I don't care. You know, that's literally what this movie is like. It is
cringy,
absolutely awful,
and you're just like the whole time like, "Oh, this is so bad." I mean, and their special effects is just
the special effects are just revolting.
They had a little elf on the shelf.
On the shelf, right? And you can literally see someone picking its feet up and walking it along, and moving its little hand. And
I thought it was maybe somebody's college project or something, or maybe even high school.
I don't know.
But yeah, definitely avoid that one. And there's a lot of 'Twas the Nights out there.
Yeah.
But this is actually, and actually, this is the one where they had a great movie poster.
Yeah, the poster was fantastic.
Oh my God, yeah. It was like, this looks really great, you know? Like, this is going to be awesome. No,
none of that was in this movie. This is the one
where he actually paid $4.99 to rent it.
Yeah.
And we wish we had that $5 back and the time that we sat through that.
I would take a $5 bill and flush it down the toilet instead of watching this movie.
Set it on fire.
I'm honest with you. I would never, ever sit through this movie ever again.
Nope.
This is the worst, most awful movie I've ever seen, let alone Christmas movies.
Yeah.
It is awful.
Okay. Back to the naughty list. Number 7 on the naughty list, The Fright Before Christmas. Yeah. And this is basically on Christmas Eve. St. Nick is summoned from the void to bring back an ancient tradition, telling spooky stories for Christmas. This one, non-memorable, because I could not, for the life of me, remember this movie.
Now that you say that, I don't remember it either.
We watched it, but it was that bad that it was non-memorable, and that's probably it made our naughty list. So let's just go on.
Right.
Number 8 on our naughty list, Sleigh Bells. Now this one basically kind of reflects of what things are going on now, you know, with people doing live streaming and podcasting and whatnot. But this one is basically Santa Claus helps 3 cosplaying girls who love to film every aspect of their lives after they accidentally unleash Krampus. Together they have to stop the monster before he can continue his killing spree.
Yeah, this was...
and it was set like in at an old Santa...
Like an abandoned Christmas attraction type thing. And Santa Claus is the person who runs the Christmas thing that's now defunct, and he still lives there. So these girls are like YouTube urbexers, and they dress up in cosplay, and then they go urbex, and then that's like their thing, you know, that's their shtick. And so they go to investigate this abandoned Christmas themed theme park, and end up accidentally releasing the Krampus, and then Santa Claus just doesn't care. So they're trying to get Santa Claus to banish Krampus, and then, you know, hijinks ensue. A lot of boobies bouncing around, and a lot of tight skirts and that sort of thing.
It was, kind of I wouldn't be surprised if those girls were like porn stars or something like that, the way they were dressed. Anyway, let's just go on from there.
No, I remember the 'Twas the Night now. That's the Santa Claus with the leather outfit telling the stupid jokes.
No. That
Wasn't that one?
Was that the Fright Before?
The Fright Before Christmas.
You are right. It is the leather Santa. Oh my God.
And he thinks he's a stand-up comedian, and he is the funniest person in the room, and it is.
It's another one where the acting was so
awful.
Bad that you're just like, that's right. See how non-memorable it was? Even as bad as it was.
It took me a minute to think about it, because I was like, when we saw this one right before Sleigh Bells, so that's why I remembered what it was. It was that weirdo. He's got a red leather Santa Claus outfit.
And there's like sex scenes.
Yeah, and he's like killing this family for no reason so that he could tell stories, and the stories are like these anthology. It's all bad. Then there's a sex scene in it for no reason at all.
It's
and it tries to be like self-aware too, where the one lady's like, "Why is there a sex scene in this?" And like, "Oh, well, you're like, just knock it off."
Yeah,
it doesn't land.
And he just thinks he's funny.
Yeah, that's the worst part of it. Is the main character believes that he's the funniest person in the room, and none of his jokes land, and it's just. Ugh.
It's just bad all around, and that's probably why it was so. I think my mind scrubbed it because it was so bad.
The Sleigh Bells, I would. It's another one of those ones, in my opinion, that skirts between the nice and naughty list, because if they had put a little more effort into the sets and the costumes, I would have said it could go on the nice list, because the concept of it is solid. The Krampus is awful. It doesn't look good at all, and it didn't land. And if they had a better Krampus outfit, they had a better set decoration, I think it would have made the nice list.
And Santa was being paid by
there's Barry Bostwick.
Yeah, Barry Bostwick.
Right, he's a fantastic actor, in Spin City. He's a great actor. And he does carry a lot of this movie, a lot of it, where he's, it's going off the rails, and his gravitas of playing the I don't care lazy Santa Claus kind of consolidates the cast a little better, you know what I mean? But one person can't carry a whole cast. So
anyway, okay. Number 9 on the naughty list, The Nights Before Christmas, which is basically an FBI agent tracks a pair of psychotic serial killers dressed as Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus.
Right.
When a string of murders in the run-up to Christmas are linked, Special Agent Natalie Parker is tasked to track down a pair of insane killers. So that one was just, I would say, almost brutal.
It was.
It was more of a slasher.
That was the one with the dollar store Harley Quinn in it.
That's right.
And the murderer Santa Claus guy has like open wounds on his face for like years at a time, and you're like, I don't know.
It was just,
and all of the FBI agents have their FBI costumes came from like the Spirit Halloween store. And like I even remarked one time, the main FBI lady, she's like going into the interrogating room, and her shirt has the creases in it from where they had just taken it out of the package right before they started filming.
The white shirt.
Yeah.
Well, is that the one also where the badges? They're like the police badges. You're like, are those 3D printed?
Yeah, you can see the like layer lines on their 3D printed badges, and it was just
another one that just
it's a throwaway movie.
Naughty.
There's nothing good about it. The acting's not good. The set's not good. The story's not good. It's just it's one of those ones that when it's over with, you're like, well, that was unfortunate. Let's go on to something else.
Okay, let's go back to our naughty list, and number 10 is Krampus 2, The Devil Returns. 5 years after his first encounter with the beast that punishes naughty children, former police officer Jeremy Duffin is called upon to stop the Yuletide monster once and for all. That's another one that I'm drawing a blank.
Yeah, I had to think about that too.
Because I'm like, it was unmemorable. I probably was dozing.
Is that the one where the cop was the drunk?
Maybe. God, this is horrible. That's how bad it was.
That's how bad some of these movies were. I can't even think back that far. It was however many days ago that was.
It was bad. It'll come to him like after we go on to the next
I'll sit
one.
here and think about it and be like, oh yeah, that was that one. But no.
Well, and to round out our last few days, we actually had 3 on the naughty list. Number 11 was the Christmas presents. It's about a gathering between friends that quickly becomes a violent fight for survival. They basically go out to this country house, and this girl, I guess something had happened to her sister out there, and it's just, there was some scenes in it where just like, why?
Well, yeah, this movie, this is the one that I said, like, we're 3/4 of the way into this movie, and it's like a buddy film. Like, its friends go out to an Airbnb in the middle of the moors of England, and they're drinking and trying on lingerie and dancing around and doing drugs. And, and we're like, I'm looking at the counter, I'm like, we're almost 3/4 of the way through this movie. We haven't even seen the villain yet. Like, what are we doing? And then suddenly, like, in like a second after that, then people start dying, and then you're like, what was there a story in here somewhere? Like, I don't understand. The acting is good. It was top notch for British acting. I felt like the sets were really good. Yeah, the special effects weren't bad.
Yeah, the mystique or the location and the lighting,
the
and
filming, and like everything was good. It was just the story wasn't there.
Yeah, just
and it took so long to actually get to the premise of what we were seeing. Like, you don't find out the actual story of this story until almost the epilogue. Of it. That's how bad.
And it was confusing too sometimes, because you're like,
who is this guy, and what are we doing? How?
Even at one point, you rewound it or took it back because you're like, I think we came out the front door, but why is this in the back door? And why are we seeing this?
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was like set, like, what do they call those, irregularities and congruities?
Where they do that on purpose to like make you think about it. But I had to rewind it, because there's a scene where this guy walks outside to smoke a cigarette, and he's standing by the cars, and then the monster is like doing the Insidious. It's like behind the tree, and it like moves, and then you can see it. And I'm like, well, wait, those cars are parked right next to the trees. So I had to like rewind it and see, and I'm like, okay, it could be like there's like a underbrush, and then it goes back further, but it looked, the perspective was way off.
Yeah.
So and I don't know. I felt like when it got to the end, you're like,
I'm tired.
Yeah, I just don't. I hate movies that do that, where they like, you're on the ride with this main character, and they're like trying to show you what a bad person they are through the whole movie, and then something happens to them, and then they expect you to like feel empathy for them, and you're like, yeah, no, they're a bad person, and I just don't care.
And they were just so kind of there were a lot of them that kind of almost stereotypic.
Yeah.
That it was just not relatable.
Yeah, it has like your token gay guy, and it has your token interracial couple,
and your lesbian, and your hardcore lesbian, and
right. And there's scenes where like the dialogue just seems forced. Like they were trying to say like that the one guy's wife was like some kind of psychic.
Yeah.
And you're like, so you brought her on this trip because she's a psychic? And no, we brought her because she's our friend. Like, what are we doing then? Like, I don't understand. And then there's a scene where like the first victim is back alive again. And then you're like,
did I miss something?
What happened?
They didn't even know where he was at one point.
Yeah, and then he's like, you need to do this and this, to save yourself. And the other people are like, no, bro, we saw his dead body outside. And then she's like, no, I just seen him in the kitchen. And you're like, what is even going on?
It was just weird. The whole thing was weird. Anyway, let's go back to our film. Okay, number 12 on the naughty list was Red Snow. A struggling vampire romance novelist must defend herself against the real-life vampires during Christmas in Lake Tahoe. Yeah. And this one, so it was so cheap. Well, and they kind of set it up where you're like, oh, and then no.
Yeah.
Like, and she didn't come across as believable. I don't know if it was her acting or if it was just the way she was written. She was just cringy, and...
Well, and there's a lot of moments in this movie where, like we talk about all the time, like, don't show me a gun in the first act that you're not going to shoot somebody in the third, right? Like, don't. That's just movie 101, like first page of script writing, right? And in this movie, I don't want to have too much spoilers, but I'll tell you anyway, because I'm sure you're not going to watch it. The vampire hunter guy who comes pretending that he's like a door-to-door salesman has a crossbow that shoots bolts that have holy water in them. So when he shoots the vampire, it damages them immensely, which is how the vampire got into her house in the first place, right? He missed and shot the vampire through the side, and it still basically almost killed him. He took like 3 weeks of rehab to even come back to be verbal, right? So then she gets the crossbow from the guy's car and one-shots one of the other vampires. Then later on, shoots her boyfriend vampire in the heart with the same crossbow, and then he's still alive. Like, wait, what? That's in the ending of the movie. You're like,
I know. It completely twisted at the end too. Like, I was like,
yeah, and it
was almost like two people wrote two different stories.
Yeah, and like they got to the end and they were like, well, we need to have some kind of twist in the end here, so let's just manufacture this insanity.
Yeah,
because like don't tell me that this is some all-powerful weapon, right? That it can one-shot a better vampire than this guy, and then he was almost killed by it when it shot him in the side. She shoots him in the heart with it, and then he lives.
Yeah.
What?
Don't bother.
What are we doing?
Pass on.
What are we doing? Like, come on. You can't establish a canon like that's what your first act is, right? You have character exposition, you have your standards, you're setting up the world, the storytelling, and the first act is all introducing characters, introducing the world, introducing the currents, the lore of this place. Then the second act, you're building the tension, you're building towards the end, and then there's the end, right? Don't set things in canon in the beginning of the movie and then subvert your own canon in the end of the movie. It's just like, that's like storytelling day one.
Yeah.
And this movie could have been really good. The story, if you take this story and even some of these actors and give them to a more, I don't want to say competent, because the movie looks good, so at least the DP is a good guy, like, this could have been a great movie. Because all the bones are there.
And they made fun of a lot of the movies that come out, with like, she was asking him questions about, can you look at crosses? It kind of reminded me of like the interview with the vampire. Where he's asking,
right.
I like crosses a lot, or garlic, or...
Yeah, I'm actually quite fond of crosses, right? Like that kind of thing.
Like they had this kind of batter, and you're like, oh, okay, well maybe he's not so bad. And
right.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go. Number 13, Lucky 13 on our naughty list, and the last movie we watched, which was the one we stayed up late last night to make sure we finished, was Red Christmas, which is a widow and her bickering family gather at a remote estate on Christmas Eve. And let's just say that there's definitely, I even called it preachy, but it definitely has an aspect. From the beginning, you'll know exactly what the aspect is. But
I don't know. I don't even know. To get a movie made, right? Because this movie has actors in it that got paid.
Dee Wallace from,
There's actors in here who got paid big money to make this movie. So you have to pitch this story to investors to get it made. And if I were an investor in a movie and someone told me this script, I'd have been like, nah. Well, what about this? And then this? No. Already. And the first act, I'm out.
Well, even the opening sequences, it basically is set, there's an explosion at an abortion clinic.
Right.
Which I was definitely not expecting that at the beginning of this movie. I'm like, okay, how does this relate to Christmas or anything?
Yeah, or anything, really.
But that is what sets up what happens down the road, whatever it is, 20 years. But yeah, it
is absolutely terrible.
I mean, the characters are just horrible to each other.
Yeah.
And
the family family dynamic in this movie. You're just like, these people are awful. Awful. the acting isn't
It's in Australia. It was set
terrible,
in Australia too.
but there are Americans in it,
yeah.
so that's weird, and they never really explain that away.
And they've got adopted children and real children, and even
the pregnant lady,
a special needs child, and it was just kind of. Oh, and then there was that couple that was the
pregnant lady. And
I was thinking about the pastor and his wife.
Right.
I guess it was her family, but just I don't know. Oof. I did not enjoy it anyway, shape,
I didn't
or form.
either.
I was like, I wish I had just gone to bed.
This is another one of those movies that was about 40 minutes longer than it needed to be.
Yeah, that was the funny thing is, overall, a lot of these movies that fell on the free channels, that was why they're on the free channels and not for rent. Because they definitely did not meet quality.
Yeah, there's no standards.
And we've seen thousands probably of horror movies over our lifetimes.
Yeah.
And you can usually tell, like, you know that there was always that section when you are our age, you go to the Blockbuster or the video store, and there was all those horrible B level, C level,
right.
or the knockoffs and stuff like that.
Yeah, like the movies that their box is made to look like another movie's box and the similar name, so that you would accidentally rent it, and then you would go home and be like, "What?
This isn't The Conjuring.
Right.
This is the Luring or
the Capturing, and it has like the same tree and everything on it. Yeah, it's like that's what this movie. I want to say it was. That it wasn't just longer than it needed to be. It was just, it doesn't need to be. Like, this story was dumb, and the plot is dumb. The fact that all of these actors just kind of like go along with it. You know what I mean? Like, no one, cause, like when you're an actor, right, and someone gives you a script, you can go to the director and be like, I don't feel like this guy would do this in this scene. You know what I mean? Like, this guy is a Navy SEAL, and we're supposed to be getting into a fist fight in this alleyway. He's not going to just run away. You know what I mean? Like, stuff like that. And the director's like, well, I'll give you some input. Let's talk to this person, and we'll rewrite that scene and make it a little better. None of that in this. It's just, this is dumb. It gets dumber. And you're like, I'll ruin it for you because it doesn't matter. The villain in this was an aborted fetus that somehow lived and
like 20 years later
wants to meet his mom, but he's like a leper. He's like basically just falling apart, and is also a ninja who can sneak up on 16-year-old people and split them completely in half with an axe. Because he's
so easy to do.
He has to walk with a cane somehow, hunched over, covered in bandages,
cloaked,
because he's so deformed, but can also scale a rose trellis and get in the second-story window.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, let's wrap it up. So that was our naughty and nice list. That was our 24 nights of Christmas horror movies. I hope if you followed along, I know everybody's very busy in the month of December, with all the holidays, whatnot, but I hope you enjoyed. I know a couple people, or one or two, actually really liked the advent calendar that I crafted. Mm-hmm. It is a one-of-a-kind, and it is not for sale.
Yeah, hopefully we'll use it next year.
But I don't even know how I would cultivate unless we just basically did real, just non-horror. But we kind of base ourselves, because we are the Midnight Matinee
horror channel. So I would say,
I don't even know how I would do it.
I don't know how we would do it either.
Another 24.
Give us some suggestions down in the comments of how we can do another marathon next Christmas.
We actually had 5 left over. I was going to bring those down, and I totally forgot that we did not watch. Like, there was one, Bloody Christmas, or something like that, and Creeped Out. Some of these were hard to find, too.
The whole Krampus thing alone, you could do a 24-movie marathon of just movies with Krampus in the titles, because that Mother Krampus, that terrible movie that we watched first, there's 3 of them.
I think there's 4.
Are there 4 now?
I think there's 4.
Oh my lord! There's 3 other Mother Krampuses. Mother Krampus 4. I mean, at some point, you just got to pull the plug.
Yeah, if there's a Christmas movie that was not on our list this time and you think that we should watch it, put it in the comments. Let us know.
Maybe we'll do an individual review.
Maybe by next Christmas, maybe we can come up with another 24 that we have not watched this time around.
Yeah.
Yep, I don't know. Anyway, I would like to wish all of you, hope you had a Merry Christmas, and we will see you next year. I don't know if we'll be doing any another movie marathons, but we will continue to discuss movies. I definitely want to go see Nosferatu.
Yeah, that's what I think we'll do the next time. We'll do a review of Nosferatu.
Yep. So, we'll see you. Yay!
Hopefully it's good.
So, Merry Christmas from the Midnight Matinee.
Yeah. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everyone.